This week on the 77% Street Debate.
I think we don't have quality people, we don't have the quality government, we have everything absolutely poor. And we produce a number of children that we cannot cater for.
Family planning in Islam is not allowed when it is intentionally made to check the will of Allah.
So my worry is what is going to happen to this set of women, because they are tired, they are sick, but the husbands still want them to keep giving birth.
Africa's population is growing fast. Predictions say that by the year 2100, there'll be 4.5 billion Africans. That's about a third of the entire global population. So we're here in Kano, the most populous state in the most populous country in Africa, to find out how exactly that future will look for Africa. And I'd like to begin by asking my panelists a general question. Do you think that the population growth in Africa will be a blessing? If you believe so, please raise your hand. Interesting. Do you think it's going to be a curse? Please raise your hand. Oh, wow. So it looks like we're really split 50-50. Let's see if it's the same answer at the end of this debate. Ismail, I want to begin with you because you work for the Population Reference Bureau here. Should we trust these numbers? Are they accurate? And where do they even come from?
For me, the numbers are accurate because when you look at the investment, the agencies like UNICEF are putting into research and data, I think you have no other reason than to accept this data. But for statistics that are coming up by, let me say, indigenous statistics, is something I have much doubt about them.
You don't trust your local government or even your national government figures?
I don't.
Why not?
Truly, I don't, because we all know most of them manipulate these numbers for political gain. That's why I don't trust the numbers.
So the numbers might not be extremely precise, but we know that Africans are going to increase. And I want to come to Zainab because you're an advocate for children and adolescents and specifically against child marriage. And I want to find out from you, why do you think Africans are increasing in population where the rest of the world, the trend seems like they're decreasing?
Well, because there are some not some regulations with regards to population growth. Like population is booming and is increasing day by day, and we are not doing anything about it in Nigeria, precisely the northern Nigeria. The increase of child marriage and a lot of child brides and giving birth at a very young age and the booming of the population. So this is causing a lot of problem from lack of access to health care, malnutrition, population, a lot of environmental hazards.
And let me come to you, Khalifa, because you're working for an organization that actually deals with young boys who have been sort of abandoned or left by the wayside. To what extent is overpopulation already affecting the state of Kano?
Yeah, I think in so many positive and also very many negative ways. You know, just like the area I'm working on, which is the Al-Majri education, we have been...
Can you just explain to our viewers who might not understand what Al-Majri is?
An Al-Majri is someone who travels from one point to another in search for Quranic education. That is what is Al-Majri. So over time, due to so many factors, overpopulation inclusive, you know, this Al-Majri system has been abandoned by the government and the numbers are too high, the children are too much, so the infrastructure is overstretched and the malams, that is their tutors, can no longer cater for, you know, the basic needs of the Al-Majris. Hence, they turn into child street beggars.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a very good description. Thank you for that. So, Mr. Director General, we're hearing that resources are stretched thin. Are you feeling it when you're governing? Are you feeling that you don't have enough money to get to the last person, enough schools, enough hospitals?
Indeed, it is very true that facilities are overstretched. At the moment, we have over 3 million children in public primary schools. This is aside the number we have in Quranic and Sangaya schools, as well as Islamia schools too, which means a lot of funds are needed to manage the education of these children, and the government at the moment does not have these funds.
So if the government doesn't have money to take care of the people that it has right now, how is Nigeria going to take care of itself in the future? Zainab, I want to come back to you because I really want to get to the heart of this. Why then are we having 5.7 children? That's the average age of number of births per woman in Nigeria compared to 1 point something in Europe. Why are we still having so many children if it's not working, if we can't afford it?
Thank Yes, because we lack access to family planning and sexual and reproductive health rights. And we are growing fastly without any regulations, like I said in the first place. And also there is some religious and cultural factors that is affecting that also, because of the way the system of marriage and the family system of the North. So all this contribute to that. You will find out that some even have the access, but because of the cultural and religious inclination that they are attached to, they still hold on to that.
So, Imam, what does Islam say about this? Is it in contradiction to what we're speaking of here? And if so, what would be your answer to it?
Islamically, the number of people in a given area is something to do with the resources existing there. Nigeria, being one of the populous nations in Africa, has abundant resources that can cater for everything, but we are having serious problem of mismanagement. This is why things are going the way you are seeing it.
So, as far as religion is concerned, you can have many children so long as you can take care of them, or what are you trying to say?
In Islam, Allah, that is the God, has the will of dictating number of children that one may get, because his actions, his books and what have you is well calculated, well articulated, that you cannot have a mistake in what Allah does. This is why if you have children, no matter the number of children, if there is good governance, there will be no problem.
Let me come back to the Director General on Media at the Governor's Office. We're hearing that you are actually the reason why overpopulation could be a problem. It's not the number of people that's the problem, it's the fact that you're mismanaging the resources that are available.
Nigeria as a country is lacking in terms of quality population data. If you don't have quality population data, there is no way you can plan for the people you have. Misgovernance also plays a role in the type of population we have, in the quality of population we have.
What do you mean the quality of population?
When I talk of quality population, I talk of an educated, a healthy population that can initiate ideas for the good of the general society.
Okay, let me come to Musa, because you have an initiative that's sort of empowering young people with regard to this. Do we have the quality people that the Director General is talking about?
Well, I think we don't have quality people, we don't have the quality government, we have everything absolutely poor. People are too much of making noise without making the actions, and we produce the number of children that we cannot cater for because the system does not provide that enabling environment. If you come to the northern Nigeria, you have over 1,000 women dying just because they are poor, they don't have access to health facilities. And that family planning aspect is one of the key things that we must remember to consider. Family planning is providing women to have the opportunity to space pregnancy from one delivery to another one so that she can be stronger, But the major problem is that the government, who is supposed to be looking at the actual data, investing in research, and then the civil society organizations who are supposed to come together and be complementing the government effort, they are always moving in parallel. I'm actually calling on the government and the civil society organizations to look at this issue. It's not about the government. Community people, the parents have a role. If we don't see ourselves, every individual I have a role to play in my community to make this change. If we don't see it that way, we will continue having a gap between the southern part of this country developing and the northern part. Our politicians spend more time fighting themselves at the detriment of the future of young people and of all of us.
Okay, so you've given me quite a number of points, but I want to go to the Imam immediately because you've mentioned family planning, and this sounds like it's in contradiction to what your teachings are saying. So where is the balance between religion, culture, and really just being rational?
Family planning in Islam is allowed when there are problems, but it is not allowed when it is intentionally made to check the will of Allah. The idea of let me have 2 people, 3 people, like how other people are doing in their culture is prohibited.
So you're not agreeing with this?
Yes, I am against what the Imam is saying about the religion is saying you can get as much as children that you want. The religion says you can get children, but you you can't get children that you can't cater for. So I am against that. What the Imam is saying, that you can have a lot of children. Yes, I know Muslims in the Islamic, it says we should have children, but we can't have the children that we can't take care of them. I'm against it.
Was a point of correction. What I said is almost contrary to what she said, because I believe in Islam. Islam does not allow you to marry more than what you can afford. You either marry one. If you cannot, even if you cannot marry one, you are instructed to fast. But the issue of having law, like they are saying, they are trying to impose the law even on those who are able to produce, because the law is so general. So this is what I want people to know. This is why the law is having problem in House of Assemblies, National Assemblies, because you come up with a law partly religiously accepted, partly religiously not accepted. So this is why if people are allowed to come up with law that will be in line with their religion, even the issue of...
But surely, shouldn't the law be secular? It should be unbiased, so that it can be followed by people of all walks of life.
The issue is we are operating federalism. We in Kano, we have the right to operate according to the dictates of our culture. And that cannot be in line with those who are not like this.
Right.
So this is why House of Assemblies, even if you pass laws that has some contrast in it, cannot pass.
So what then happens if we continue to have all the number of children that we can, and as we're hearing, the resources are still not going to be available? What next then?
The next is, like I said, good governance. That is through good governance that we will put enough resources to education.
Okay.
If we put enough resources to education, that will give sound education to people. And with sound education, we will be able to develop other sectors of life.
All right. I just want to read a quote from Muhammad Sunusi II, who you all know here, the Emir of Kano. And he was recently at the UN General Assembly. And at a side event, he said, and I quote, "The resources have shrunk and the population has increased. You're not going to stop that by having governments spend money. You've got to address cultural attitudes. What age do girls marry? How many children do girls have? How many wives do men have?" So hearing this from the Emir and hearing what you're telling me, it sounds like you're speaking from two different pages.
Exactly. You know one thing, even if you will be allowed with one child, if there is mismanagement of resources, you will end up in poverty, unemployment, and hungry. So whatever the case may be, if the little resources we have is mismanaged, so no matter the number of children, you will suffer.
Okay. So you're not agreeing with this, Ismail?
Yeah, you see, let me give us a very, very disturbing statistics.
Yeah.
In Kano, we have over 10 million people living in Kano State. And out of that 8 million people in Kano State, almost 3 million children are out of school. And out of that 3 million, let's keep this one aside and talk about the number of unemployed youth. We have over 3 million unemployed youth in Kano. But go around and look at the number of mosques we have. Go around and look at the number of churches we have. We have almost 374 churches here in Kano State. We have almost 454,000 mosques here in Kano State with only 50 functioning industries.
The center of commerce.
The center of commerce.
Yes.
We have 3 million out-of-school children in Kano State, but we have a government that went to faraway China to collect loan of almost 2 billion naira, not to build school for these children, but to build a light rail. And you see, in Nigeria only, we have come to realize that in Nigeria, almost 15 million girls are married out before the age of 18. And to marry out 15 million girls in a year means the next year are going to produce another 15 million children. What is the government doing for these kids?
Let's find out.
It is known by everybody here that our government, the government of Kano State, recently declared free and compulsory education for every child from pre-basic to senior secondary school. There is a special focus on girls. It is meant to give some amount of cash to parents of girls on condition that these girls will attend school continuously.
Okay, allow me to interrupt you because earlier you talked about quality people who go through quality education. And I heard it said that in some classrooms, up to 400 pupils in one class. So it can be free education, but is it quality education?
We came to government about 4 years ago and met this situation on ground. We decided to devote a substantial amount of our budget to constructing additional classrooms in primary, secondary, and even in tertiary institutions. This is an issue you will address gradually. It's not something that you can just say, okay, at once today, let me construct classes for all the children in Kano.
Let me ask Khalifa then, because we're hearing the governor say the government is trying, give us time. Maybe by the year 2030, it will be a ratio of 1 to 10 students in the classroom. But by that time, more children are being born. What are the immediate risks?
Yeah, the immediate risks are obvious. That is why we have this, a chunk of number of our young people abusing drugs. That is why we have so many unemployed youth. And some of the things I feel the government needs to do is, first of all, start to curb corruption. Because I don't agree that we don't have enough resources in Nigeria or in Kano. It's just that once the resources are poured down, along the line, at every office, something will be cut out. So you see, by the time it comes down to implementation, you will not see any impact.
Yeah.
I challenge the government to start thinking out of the box. There are so many opportunities that we working in development sector are seeing, and are always advising the government to latch onto these opportunities, in terms of funding, in terms of technical support.
Okay, but because we're looking at now and the future, where then should we head? Let me speak to him first.
Okay, so I think population is a blessing to any country. It depends on the way and the manner the government is managing the affairs of the government. For example,
you're in agreement with the Imam?
Yes, I'm in agreement with him. For example, in China, they have most population than Nigeria, and they are utilizing that. And the most important part of any country is human capital. That's the most important thing. And if you have human capital, you have accurate education and access, you will have expansion in domestic market, investment in agriculture, you have all the resources. So the issue is just to manage corruption and face on what we should do.
All right, so you're saying overpopulation should not be an excuse for underdevelopment. Yes, and you're saying Nigeria can definitely afford it. Yes. All right, Aisha, I'd like to come to you because we're talking about having children. And I want to understand, to what degree do women have the agency, not necessarily for family planning, but even to space their children? How much of a say do women have in this country?
Actually, I don't think they have a lot of say because I just had a baby 5 months ago. So I took her for immunization and there were like 200 women in the queue. So I was like, my husband and I decided to space, the birth, and we were like, let's go and check out the child spacing unit. Honestly, we saw like 5 to 6 women. And out of that 5 to 6 women, I think 3 of them came on their own. But the hospital said they have to bring their husbands or a written letter from him, signed, that he has agreed, for them to do the spacing.
Why? Why is that?
I don't really know. Maybe it's...
Yeah, family plan. When you talk about these issues, the most vulnerable ones are girls because of the issue of gender equality. And because the society are not helping matters, and in disagreement to what the government spokesperson just said, like when they are talking about education, because if girls are educated, all these issues will go down. So they are not helping matters actually, because when they say pre-education, this is something that we have been hearing since when we are born, but it's not realized. Even if they said it's realized, it's not even sustainable, because the ladies, the girls, young girls will be getting married at a very young age, like 14, 15. Even if they start going to school, it will cut up and they will get married. Even if you say there are a number of population, if you go to the streets of Kano, you will see a lot of young girls going to school, but they don't get the opportunity to complete it.
Okay.
And that causes all these problems. And they are not even making any effort to have a bill and even to sign a bill of Child Rights Act so that it will address, to say at least let these girls complete their secondary school education.
Okay. Let me come to the Director General, because you spoke directly to him. That the idea of free education is really incompatible with what's happening right now, because you're not even addressing things like child marriage.
Indeed, we are addressing things like child marriage. A short while ago, I mentioned that we have this arrangement whereby we are supported by the DFID, the conditional grant scheme, where we give monies to parents of girls to allow them to continue their education up to secondary school level.
Let me find out, what are the consequences if a parent is found to have given their child out for marriage when they're too young?
Of course, there are extant laws whereby if you refuse to take your girl child to education, due process will be followed and will be...
What is the due process?
The due legal process.
Okay.
I'm not a lawyer, so I cannot go through the rudiments.
I thought it would be like a well-known law, but okay, I want to come back to Aisha because I cut her off.
Okay, yeah, so my worry here is that this set of women, like I met a woman at the child spacing unit. She said she's 39 years old. She came without her husband, and she was like, please, can my husband write the letter for her and signed so that she would just give it to them? I was like, no, why? Like, what's happening? So she was like, she's 39, and the last birth she had complications, and she's just tired. She has 8 children, so she doesn't want to, do it anymore. But the husband is insisting that she has to do it again, and his salary is just 15,000 naira a month. So it's not even realistic. Yeah. So my worry is what is going to happen to this set of women, because a lot of them are out there, they are tired, they are sick, but the husbands, which are not even able to take care of them, still want them to keep giving birth. So
let me just quickly say that Nigeria is not overpopulated. We don't have overpopulation because by definitional concept, overpopulation is when the population of a country or a place is greater than the resources available. So if you look at Kano, for example, the land mass we have for agriculture, a lot of opportunities all there. And then the other part of it is that the Malam speaks about a lot about family planning stand on the religious.
Malam is teacher, by the way, for our viewers.
So, I mean, the Imam among us, which is actually right. Islam is not against that. What Islam, some of the Imams are looking at, okay, if it is for the improvement of the health of a mother, because by the time a woman is pregnant now, and then she gave birth today, after 3 months, 4 months, she become pregnant. The body is not back to its normal. And this is why we have many maternal mortality in northern Nigeria. So I think it's now time for us to start thinking together. Government should know their responsibility is not only law, but implementing laws. The people that are close to us that we elected who are representing us are our representative from this state today. These are the people that I'm looking forward to see that we are calling them either back or calling them to say, this is what we want, guys. If not, next time by 2023, it's not only taking you away, but we are going to impeach you and dump you in prison.
So why haven't you done that already? Because Nigeria has been independent for many years.
Because they were able to succeed in dividing the whole population of the young people. People, today we are in this political group, and then you see the other one as your enemy. When by themselves, they are calling themselves to increase themselves money, they share money, they date the same girlfriends. I'm sorry to say that, sorry.
Okay, 1 second. Khalifa, I want to come to you because I read something you said that the mindset of northern Nigeria is about 200 or 3 years old. Yeah, it needs to be updated. Okay, yeah. What can we do then to change this mindset so that the number of young people who are coming into the population are productive, are innovative, are all these things we're talking about?
We have to reorient our values, from thinking that, just like my brother was saying, from thinking that, okay, if I'm poor, I'm married, I'll add another wife, to knowing that, okay, I'm responsible for my family, for their clothes, for what they eat and where they live, And after that, we have to also encourage young people to not just go through formal schools. Basic education is okay. Let me give you a story. Just like these Almajiri children you're seeing, the risks are too high, Edith. They are too high. That is why you see, crime, you see violence, kidnapping, banditry, That is why you see all these things. And I think it has a lot to do with population, but it also has a lot to do with orientation, because orientation has direct link with population. Yeah. So I think these two things have to be done, because these risks are too high and, the danger is too much, really.
So we're already seeing the impact of this population burst. Imam, I'd like to come back to you. Allow me to ask, what would happen if the government of Nigeria today, the federal government, said that the problem of population growth is too big in Nigeria and we now have to cap the number of children to 1 per woman? Would that work?
Well, it's just an assumption. The question is based on assumption.
Yeah, of course. But I'm asking you, is this something that you think could work in Nigeria, in Kano, or even in Africa?
It will work somewhere and it will not work somewhere.
What is your prediction?
My prediction is those that feel that is in line with their culture and belief will accept, and those that see it as negative will reject. This is my assumption.
I think it will work. Yeah. We were able to do one thing, that is empower and create awareness and enlighten the girl child, give them education, because these are the people that are giving birth. So if you enlighten them and give them awareness that if you look, this is the consequences that will happen if there is population crisis in the country. So it's left for you to regulate the type of the number of children that you are going to be giving birth to. You can talk to the husband, look, I'm not ready to get married because of, I'm not ready to give birth because of my health condition, because of, you can enlighten them, even the people in the rural areas and the ones in the city. That is my take.
So information for you is what would... The Imam is refusing, but I'm not going to stay there because I don't want to start a war. I would like to ask the question I started with. Is the population growth in Africa, we're talking about 4 billion people in the year 2100, is that going to be a blessing? Who agrees? Is it going to be a curse? It looks like this debate has not swayed anyone left or right. I wonder what you think. It's been a very exciting debate here in Kano. I'm Edith Kimani. Thank you for watching.